The evolution of Batman. The Dark Knight, the nickname for Batman, is a name that's layered with meaning. Batman is a classic superhero, but the modern-day Batman is a far more complex character than he was 70 years ago. Over time, he has evolved from an invincible crime fighter into one of the most human superheroes, one who is often faced with dilemmas that challenge his morals and conscience. The nickname, Dark Knight, fits the character we know today because Batman is always in pursuit of justice, but who finds that difficult sacrifices must often be made along the way. Batman was created in 1939 by artist Robert Kane, who was inspired by crime novels, another comic character called Zorro, and an earlier horror film called The Bat. Because Kane preferred more realistic heroes, Batman was not given superpowers. Instead, Bruce Wayne, Batman's alter ego, is extremely rich and can afford many useful tools and weapons, such as the Batmobile, a car with special capabilities. Batman's original suit and iconic bat signal have endured as well. While the design and colors have changed gradually over time, the Batman identity, the bat logo, mask with ears, and cape, has been remarkably consistent for more than 70 years. One thing that hasn't remained so similar over the years is the tone of the Batman stories and, accordingly, Batman's personality. The conflicts in Batman stories are often based on real-world problems, which is one element that makes Batman a more complex character than most superheroes. Not long after the creation of Batman, World War II began. The American government spent lots of time and energy getting its people to be patriotic and to support the war. Batman appeared in a 15-part serialized movie at this time and was seen as a symbol of justice, fighting evil at home while American soldiers were away defending the country. At that time, he sometimes used guns and wasn't afraid to kill his enemies if there was a need to, but the modern Batman is generally against guns and killing because his parents were killed by guns. The mood in the United States relaxed considerably by the 1960s, and a Batman show subsequently appeared on television with a very different kind of superhero. The show became popular with kids and adults alike for its cultural references, cartoonish fight scenes, and funny dialogue. Following the end of the original television series in 1968, the television version of Batman was limited to cartoons for the next 2 decades. In the 1970s and 80s, Batman was embraced by comic book writers and reimagined as a more serious character. When legendary comics writers like Frank Miller and Alan Moore began to write Batman books, the Batman we know today, darker, imperfect, and vulnerable, began to emerge. Miller is often credited with taking the comics genre to a new level with his Batman book, The Dark Knight Returns, which was among the first to incorporate real-world elements such as corrupt politicians and poverty. In his hands, Batman went beyond being just a masked hero. Batman returned to the big screen in 1989 in Tim Burton's Batman. It featured a tougher Batman with a colder personality and a redesigned, all-black costume. In the latest Batman films, the hero's transformation continues in this direction. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy features a much more dangerous Gotham City, and Bruce Wayne and Batman are not automatically likable characters. Batman no longer simply fights against bad guys, but starts to question if he's a good guy or hero himself. Villains like the Joker are no longer crazy personalities with weird hair and makeup that just want to rob a bank or kidnap a famous person. They are now similar to modern-day terrorists, trying to make people fight one another and threatening the world economy. What makes Batman a great character is that he changes as the world changes. So while it is safe to expect that Batman will be a different character in 20 years' time, we can also expect that he will continue to be a great and compelling superhero. Summary: The evolution of Batman, a complex character. Batman, nicknamed Dark Knight, has evolved from a crime fighter to a human superhero with complex dilemmas. Created in 1939 by artist Robert Kane, Batman was not given superpowers but Bruce Wayne's wealth and weapons. The Batman identity, including the bat logo, mask with ears, and cape, has remained consistent for over 70 years. The tone of Batman's stories and personality have remained consistent, often based on real-world problems. Post-World War II, Batman was seen as a symbol of justice, fighting evil at home while American soldiers defended the country. The 1960s saw a Batman show on television, popular for its cultural references and cartoonish fight scenes. In the 1970s and 80s, Batman was reimagined as a more serious character by comic book writers like Frank Miller and Alan Moore. Batman returned to the big screen in 1989 with a tougher, colder Batman and a redesigned, all-black costume. The latest Batman films continue to evolve, with Batman questioning his morality and the villain's role as modern-day terrorists. Batman's transformation as the world changes is what makes him a great character. Here are some keywords and their meanings based on this content. 1. Batman. Meaning: a fictional superhero character, also known as the Dark Knight, who fights crime in the fictional Gotham City. 2. The Dark Knight. Meaning: a nickname for Batman, representing his complex and morally ambiguous character. 3. Superhero. Meaning: a fictional character possessing extraordinary abilities and often dedicated to protecting the public from evil or crime. 4. Crime fighter. Meaning: a person who actively works to prevent or combat criminal activity. 5. Morals. Meaning: morals are principles or standards of behavior that guide one's actions and decisions, often distinguishing between right and wrong. 6. Conscience. Meaning: an inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. 7. Alter ego. Meaning: a second self or alternate personality within a person, often used to disguise or conceal one's true identity. 8. Rich. Meaning: rich is having a great deal of money or assets, wealthy. 9. Batmobile. Meaning: Batman's fictional car, equipped with various special features and used for crime-fighting purposes. 10. Serialized. Meaning: presented or published in installments or parts, often with a continuous narrative. 11. World War II. Meaning: a global conflict that lasted from 1939 to 1945, involving many of the world's nations, including the Allies and the Axis powers. 12. A serialized movie. Meaning: a movie released in installments, usually with a continuing storyline, is often shown in theaters over several weeks. 13. Cartoonish. Meaning: cartoonish is resembling or characteristic of a cartoon, often exaggerated or simplified in style. 14. Reimagined. Meaning: to imagine or conceive of something in a new or different way, often with changes to its original form or context. 15. Vulnerable. Meaning: vulnerable is susceptible to physical or emotional harm or attack, easily wounded or hurt. 16. Corrupt politicians. Meaning: politicians who engage in dishonest or illegal behavior, often for personal gain or to maintain power. 17. Terrorism. Meaning: the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians, in the pursuit of political aims or goals. 18. Compelling. Meaning: evoking interest, attention, or admiration in a powerfully irresistible way. 19. Fictional character. Meaning: a character created within the context of a fictional work, such as literature, film, or television. 20. Evolution. Meaning: the gradual development or change of something over time, often resulting in new characteristics or forms. Here are some questions for you based on this content. 1. When was Batman created, and who was the artist behind his creation? 2. What inspired the creation of Batman? 3. Why was Batman not given superpowers? 4. What is the name of Batman's alter ego? 5. What special vehicle does Batman use for crime fighting? 6. How long has the Batman identity remained consistent? 7. What historical event influenced Batman's portrayal during World War II? 8. Why is the modern Batman generally against guns and killing? 9. What popular television show featured a different portrayal of Batman in the 1960s? 10. Who reimagined Batman as a more serious character in the 1970s and 80s? 11. What book by Frank Miller is often credited with taking the Batman character to a new level? 12. When did Batman return to the big screen in Tim Burton's film? 13. How does Batman's personality differ in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy? 14. What do villains like the Joker represent in modern Batman films? 15. What is highlighted as one of Batman's defining characteristics? 16. How has Batman evolved over time? 17. What is the significance of the nickname, Dark Knight? 18. What elements in Batman stories make him a more complex character? 19. What major historical event influenced Batman's portrayal during the 1960s? 20. How has Batman's portrayal on screen changed over time? Here are some questions and suggested answers based on this content. 1. When was Batman created, and who was the artist behind his creation? Suggested answer: Batman was created in 1939 by the artist Robert Kane. 2. What inspired the creation of Batman? Suggested answer: Batman was inspired by crime novels, the comic character Zorro, and the horror film, The Bat. 3. Why was Batman not given superpowers? Suggested answer: Batman was not given superpowers because artist Robert Kane preferred more realistic heroes. 4. What is the name of Batman's alter ego? Suggested answer: Batman's alter ego is Bruce Wayne. 5. What special vehicle does Batman use for crime fighting? Suggested answer: Batman uses the Batmobile, a car with special capabilities. 6. How long has the Batman identity remained consistent? Suggested answer: The Batman identity, including the Bat logo, mask with ears, and cape, has remained consistent for more than 70 years. 7. What historical event influenced Batman's portrayal during World War II? Suggested answer: World War II influenced Batman's portrayal as a symbol of justice, fighting evil at home while American soldiers were away defending the country. 8. Why is the modern Batman generally against guns and killing? Suggested answer: The modern Batman is generally against guns and killing because his parents were killed by guns. 9. What popular television show featured a different portrayal of Batman in the 1960s? Suggested answer: A popular television show in the 1960s featured a different portrayal of Batman with cultural references, cartoonish fight scenes, and funny dialogue. 10. Who reimagined Batman as a more serious character in the 1970s and 80s? Suggested answer: Comic book writers like Frank Miller and Alan Moore reimagined Batman as a more serious character. 11. What book by Frank Miller is often credited with taking the Batman character to a new level? Suggested answer: Frank Miller's book, The Dark Knight Returns, is often credited with taking the Batman character to a new level. 12. When did Batman return to the big screen in Tim Burton's film? Suggested answer: Batman returned to the big screen in 1989 in Tim Burton's film, Batman. 13. How does Batman's personality differ in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy? Suggested answer: In Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, Batman has a tougher and colder personality compared to previous portrayals. 14. What do villains like the Joker represent in modern Batman films? Suggested answer: Villains like the Joker represent modern-day terrorists, threatening the world economy and inciting chaos. 15. What is highlighted as one of Batman's defining characteristics? Suggested answer: Batman's ability to change and adapt as the world changes is highlighted as one of his defining characteristics. 16. How has Batman evolved over time? Suggested answer: Batman has evolved from an invincible crime fighter into a more complex character facing moral dilemmas and challenges to his conscience. 17. What is the significance of the nickname, Dark Knight? Suggested answer: The nickname, Dark Knight, reflects Batman's pursuit of justice amidst difficult sacrifices and his complex, morally ambiguous character. 18. What elements in Batman stories make him a more complex character? Suggested answer: Batman stories often incorporate real-world problems, contributing to Batman's complexity as a character. 19. What major historical event influenced Batman's portrayal during the 1960s? Suggested answer: The relaxation of the mood in the United States during the 1960s influenced Batman's portrayal on television. 20. How has Batman's portrayal on screen changed over time? Suggested answer: Batman's portrayal on screen has evolved to depict a darker, more serious character, challenging traditional notions of heroism and morality. This material primarily helps to learn English vocabulary, English grammar, and English sentence structure. Thank you for watching.